Good morning, everyone. Okay. 42, 43 42, 43 पे जाना पड़ेगा. पूरा ये कैंसिल कर दीजिए सर. फुल कंप्लीट. पूरा डिलीट नहीं होगा, एक बार पूरा देख लीजिए ना. So every page. Okay, dear. Good morning. So, any doubts till this point, or you want to ask any problem? Okay. If you want to ask anything, tell me. Oh, otherwise, I can start next topic. Okay, and so your FRBM review committee. FRBM review committee, and that's basically it's under Sri N.K. Singh. Yeah, this Sri N.K. Singh is the same person who is our 15 Finance Commission chairperson. So there was debate basically started. Okay, we should change the target of 3% or what? Several persons saying what is the 3% of the magic figure. Okay. So it is you understand 3% is the percent, amount is not fixed. 3% is the percent of GDP. So if volume of GDP keeps changing, your 3% will change. Okay. So then committee was constituted to review any other suggestion, any other things they want to make. They recommended, and more or less it's accepted by the government. So just you write few lines. Yeah, your question is what are the difference between e-rupee and what we use in any UPI app transactions, because that RBI launching a pilot project on a rupee transaction. Yes, true. Because in the last budget, 1st Feb 2022, in this 1st Feb 2022, when budget was presented by the government, that day the government announced and authorized RBI to go for the digital currency, and that RBI is started after all infrastructure development. They are starting your pilot project, and they will just observe the drawbacks in any problem is there or not. Then they will, after sorting out all the issues, they will come out with the full fledged. So definitely they are going to use this money on some system, and the system later on decided by the RBI. You can use it because it is not only the payment. It is not, see, UPI right now you are doing what? It's an app which is just acting as the payment one. Okay, but the digital currency, it is the pure, I mean the currency you are going to get in the form of digital currency. Okay, so some changes will be there. So till when RBI is not coming with that in detail, Let me see, and if it's coming with that everything, so maybe in the next round, because tomorrow it's not possible. Tomorrow I'm trying to complete your fiscal system. So let me complete this fiscal system. When next round I will start yours. So a special topic on digital currency I will discuss with you, because till that time you are going to aware about the fiscal system and monetary system and maybe other part. So I will make one class on this digital system. Not one class, I will discuss on this topic. Clear? So till that you please wait. So a part of government revenue receipts is fees for services rendered. Okay. What kind of services are these? See, suppose government is giving you some services like health facilities you can take. So if you are going to avail the government hospital services, you have to pay very nominal amount. It is thanks to the government of West Bengal, you are paying nothing but like 4 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupees, some we are taking. But even if you go this to make this one, in somewhere this is not the criteria. Even the local hospitals, if you go, you are paying some price, they are charging the price. But fact is, the government side, it is not there. If you go to the SSKM hospital, you make the card, they're charging the 2 rupees, 1 rupees like this. Okay. So somewhere it is there. So this, if suppose it is illegal, I'm not saying it's illegal or illegal, because never thought about that, this 2 rupees or 5 rupees charged by the counter persons to make the OPD card, it's illegal or not. But they're openly they are charging it. Everyone is paying this. So I think the whole system is knowing about this. So even you are not, if it's not a legal one, how can you do that? Okay. So let us assume if it is a legal one, then this is the money they are collecting it. So they are giving you health services, a nominal amount they are charging it. Suppose the health services, they are education services they are giving it, they are charging the fees for that. So this type of things you can just take. Clear? Second, you are saying that, sir, could you please explain government debts, public debt, internal, external, and other liabilities? Okay, fine. So, see, one thing remember, DEBT, debt, or you can say debt. I'm not going in that discussions. Okay. So if you say debt means it's a loan amount or total liabilities of the government. The government has to pay this amount. Government has to pay this amount. Okay, total liabilities or total loan amount you can take. Clear? You have to pay. So when you are saying debt, it may be personal, it may be government. It may be personal, it may be government. Okay, so it is there. So if it is a personal or it is it's a maybe personal or maybe you're like this you can say institutional. So it is a debt. It is a debt. Now, if you take this much things, these things if you take, and if this debt is the government debts, suppose government of India having the debt amount, total liabilities. If government of India has total liabilities, okay, so or total debt, that is known as public debt. Public debt means the total liabilities of government of India. That is known as the public debt. Clear? Now, in public debt, or that's it's referred to the say central government debt, there is public debt, includes two different parts. If amount you borrowed within the domestic economy, maybe from the RBI, maybe from the you say public. So these all are known as the domestic debt or internal debt. Domestic debt, or it is known as internal debt. That is within the economy. But suppose you borrowed some amount from the IMF, from the say World Bank, say from the other countries. So these all borrowings are considered as your external debt. So internal debt plus external debt combinedly it is known as the public debt. Clear? Now, second, you are asking what is the other liabilities. So it is a loan amount you borrowed, So it is the also your liabilities. Other liabilities includes like you are knowing that the you are paying, you are just depositing your money in the post offices. But what amount you deposit in post office, basically it is going to the government and government using it, but government has to pay you back. So it is the other liabilities. Second, suppose if from years and years we are depositing and that is with the government, but government has to pay. Second, PPF, Provident Fund, this amount you are paying to the government, it is with the government. So it is the liabilities of the government has to pay. So these type of things, if you take which already government has, okay, or government has to pay back, then these are known as the other liabilities, because the amount they receive through the post office, it is not the borrowings. It's not the borrowings. We willingly deposited in this post office, but yes, government used it, but it's not the borrowings. PPF, Provident Fund, you can say, you are depositing to the government, giving to the government using this money, willingly you are just depositing. So it's not the government who borrowed from you, but you are given to the government. Okay, government is going to pay you principal and other things, interest, but yes, it is the other liabilities of the government. So is it clear to all? Public debt, government debt and public debt both are same. Okay, you can use government debt or you can use the public debt concept. Fine, dear. I think all answers we have discussed with you. Now you know you're right. The review committee, just right. The government had constituted a committee in May 2016 to review the fiscal responsibility and budget management act, to review the fiscal responsibility and budget management act under the chairmanship of Sri N.K. Singh. Okay, full stop, right? The committee consisted of Dr. Urjit Patel. Urjit Patel, that time when it was constituted. Urjit Patel, right? Sri Sumit Bose, S-U-M-I-T, Sumit Bose. Arvind Subramanian, and that time he was the chief economic advisor, Dr. Arvind Subramanian. And fourth one, Dr. Rathin Roy. Yeah, Rathin Roy was your director. He was director that time on NIPFE, the National Institute of Public Finance and Policy. It is basically specialized research institutions. They are working on the public fund, public debt, public policy, means government policies. Okay, so it's a very specialized institution. So Rathin Roy was the director of that institute. Okay, when this committee was constituted. Clear? Please write recommendations. Just write the subheading, recommendations. Right, first point you write. And these recommendations basically accepted by the government. First you write flexibility to the center on the fiscal consolidation by maintaining a fiscal deficit to GDP ratio. Okay, so I am just you understand here? Basically, they recommended and it was accepted in, they submitted the report, 2016 constituted, 17 they recommended and 2018 government accepted. But for this year, 2023, okay, they recommended that government should maintain 2.5% of fiscal deficit. 2.5% of fiscal deficit. But in the last day, in the last class, we have seen that this year target is 6.4%. You remember I discussed with you the current data. The 6.4% is the target of this year. This year means what? 22-23. So it is not possible to meet the 2.5%. But yes, we can understand in this way that they recommended the flexibility in the fiscal deficit targets. Okay, that we have to know. But we are not noting all the things, 2.5, 3 point like this, because this time period is over. And due to the pandemic, what's happened? The deficit of the government of India has increased. I just discussed yesterday. You see, the fiscal deficit of that particular year, 2021, which is the peak pandemic period, it was 9.2% of fiscal deficit. You can imagine that what was the low level of the deficit the central government has incurred. Why? Simple reason. Simple reason. Expenditure increased, but your receipts has declined drastically. And central government paid the salary to each and every employees monthly and timely. Okay, right. Second point, you right. It recommends a escape clause. Escape clause means, you understand, last time in FRBM we have discussed with you, here's national security, war, natural calamities, and what the central government thinks. That was the conditions. So a gray area you left, and you left to the central government, you decide what should be the reason of deviation from the target. Suppose this year you targeted 6.4%. I given you this example. The budget estimates was 6.4%. If you're coming on the first Feb in the parliament, and if you are deviating from 6.5%, okay, so deviation should have some particular reason. You cannot say anything, this happened, so I deviated. So, in a very concise manner, this committee recommended, these are the reasons. On the basis of this reason, yes, you may deviate from the target. Suppose you make 6.4%, you may achieve more than, you may go for the more than this, but there must be reason. What are the reasons? They categorically mentioned. Okay, so just you write. It recommends escape clause. It is known as escape clause, which would allow, or just you write, which allows the government, write like this, which allows the government to skip SKIP, to skip the fiscal deficit target, to skip the fiscal deficit target, to skip the fiscal deficit target for a particular year, to skip the fiscal deficit target for a particular year. First you write within this point, first national security and war. National security oblique comma you put war, because maybe national security or war, national security comma war. Next you write natural calamities, you write severe collapse of agriculture, you are writing severe collapse of agriculture, severe collapse of agriculture. Okay, next is structural reforms in the economy. Next point, structural reforms in the economy. Okay. Next point, fall in real output growth. Falling real output growth by 300 bps below average 4 4 FOR 4. Up next you write FOUR 4. Below average for 4 successive quarters. For 4 successive quarters. Clear? So what are you writing? Fall in real output growth by 300 BPS basis points, 300 basis point below average for 4 successive quarters. Just think. So review committee given the options, these are the reasons. On this reason you can deviate your target. Suppose you make this year 6.4%, so you have to achieve. If something happen out of these, then only you can deviate your target, otherwise you have to achieve the target. So first is saying national security war. You are knowing that if there is a national security war, so nothing important than this. Okay, so you may spend more money. Okay, you have to spend more money to protect, so no issue. That natural calamities, you can see that what's happened, okay, in the recent past. So there is obvious, it's true, government will deviate from the target. Collapse of agriculture, severe collapse of agriculture. You understand here, the 50% of workforce, around, I'm telling you, around 50% of workforce is under agriculture sector. An allied you can take 50% of agriculture sector workforce, depending on that, and around 18% is the agriculture and allied sectors contributes in GDP. Still agriculture sector is playing a very contributory role. Okay, there is a contributory role, and it is still considered as one of the, the backbone of the economy. If any sector, any season you can take, any year you can take, if your agriculture sector is not performing well, it is going to overall affecting your growth and development. Why? Because agriculture sector, if something happened, it's affecting your inflation. Inflation is affecting the investment. Other, just to take the recent example, last 6 months. In India, inflation is due to 2 major reasons. One is your agriculture and allied products, and second is the energy, that is the crude oil you can take. Crude oil is due to the war and international problems, that is not under my control or our control. But agriculture is the domestic productions. So due to the agriculture constraint, we are facing the inflation. So if any particular year agriculture production is going to disturb, it is affecting your inflation. And if there is inflation, RBI will keep controlling the money supply and your lending rate is going to increase. Overall, it is going to affect your investment, aggregate demand, output. So in that conditions, you are not able to meet your target. That's the reason it's given. Second, you are talking about is structural reforms in the economy. Yeah. If government is implementing any structural reforms in the country, so it may be one of the reasons that government may deviate from the targets. Yeah, it may be one of the reasons that government may deviate from the targets. Like I'm telling you one example, that suppose, take the example, this GST. Central government implemented GST. So when central government implemented GST, so with the condition, what was the condition? If pre-GST, how much it was the taxes collected by the state government. After GST, if central government received the taxes, and if after GST amount is less than the pre-GST, then the whole difference amount central government will pay you as a compensation. It means what? It is the structural reforms. The tax structure you changed and you reform in that. So it's the structural reforms. And due to structural reforms, what you have seen, for development of the infrastructure and other things, government spent the money. Expenditure has increased. Due to other provisions, again expenditure has increased due to the compensations. And revenue part in starting years, it's affected. To one side, it is going to increase your expenditure. Even suppose receipts is not going to decrease, then deficit is going to be higher. If receipt is also decreasing, then gap will be much more. So there is a possibility you can deviate from this. Due to the structural reforms, there is a possibility you can deviate from your target. It may be one of the reasons. Second is saying that 300 basis points, the real growth rate. So 4 successive quarters. 4 successive quarter means 4 successive quarter means quarters. 4 successive quarters means means 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 12 months. So suppose, and 300 basis points. So 300 basis points, as I discussed with you, basis points. 300 basis points means 3 percentage points. It means 3 percentage points. 3 percentage points. It means, suppose the average growth in India is on an average 7%. 7%. But growth rates decline in India 7% to say 4%. Because less than 3% is the percentage point, means 4%. And this 4% remain in the successively 4 quarters. First 3 months, next 3 months, next 3 months, next 3 months. So if growth is not there that much, income is not coming, but you expected your expenditure and your receipts as per the 7% growth rate. So there is a possibility that much receipts you are not getting. But expenditure you are doing because already you passed in the plan, passed in the budget. So you are going to spend that much amount, but your receipts has declined. So gap may be wider. So yes, there is a possibility you can deviate from this. So these are basically the reasons given as a escape clause here. On the factors you can escape, you can deviate from the targets. That's the review committee recommended. But review committee basically what's about next? Yeah, okay, whiteboard is fine. So review committee is saying that so your whiteboard यहाँ से then अच्छा subjects fine then okay fine. So if deviation, you are deviating from your target, but again the limit has imposed. Maximum it should be the 50 basis points. Okay, 50 basis point or 0.5 percentage point. So suppose caveat they put 0.5%. This is the caveat. 0.5 percentage points. It means 50 basis points. You can say. That is a caveat or condition they impose. It means this year it's a 6.4%. Target is fiscal deficit. So maximum you can deviate to 6.9%, not more than that. There is 0.5 percentage point. So just change the para. You write only one line. Please write. Right. Deviations should not exceed. Deviation should not exceed 2 fiscal deficit target by 50 basis points or 0.5 percentage points. 50 basis points or 0.5 percentage points. Clear? Now next you write, next point, they are saying that, first you write second point, existing FRBM Act, right, it's very simple one. Existing FRBM Act should be replaced by date and fiscal responsibility Act. So new word you can use it. New Date and Fiscal Responsibility Act. They want to replace it. See, yeah, definitely other provisions, some provisions you can just change it and just replace the FRBM Act and named it Date and Fiscal Responsibility Act. Okay. Committee saying it is a very appropriate words what we are using here. Clear? Yeah. Fine. Okay, next point is talking about, next point you just write. Okay, committee recommended the creation of a fiscal council. Yeah, fiscal council. The committee recommended the creation of a fiscal council. So he's talking about fiscal council. Yeah. And government accepted but not enacted, right now till the government is doing. See, if you see the future prospects, how the government is moving towards in the economy. So fiscal council is going to play a very contributory role. Okay. You know, in Indian economy, okay, Sri Pranab Mukherjee sir is created first debate. I mean, he is the first person who started the concept in the debate, and they're starting debating that the fiscal management should be with the government of India. Till now, who is managing the debt and other things? It is managed by the RBI. On behalf of government of India, RBI is issuing that. So all debt is managed by the RBI. So now after that debate is already there in this fiscal world, I mean the government is thinking, let us make an autonomous body, and that autonomous body is going to control the fiscal debt and fiscal management of the government. Not control, they will act as a supervisory one, and they will work as a behalf of the government. There is independent body which will work under the government. Okay, that is the main thing. Basically, they want to take out this responsibility from the RBI. Okay, so there is again debt management. Okay, I will tell you data. You understand DBT debt. Okay, so debt management body basically they want to create, and they are going to manage the government debt. Okay, so the fiscal council is going to work as an advisory body. It's a council. Under that, this is going to work in the coming future. Okay, and fiscal council also going to suggest the government how to manage debt, how to raise the fund, how efficiently you can just do your expenditure, receipts, everything they are going to manage. So a fiscal council is going to work as an advisory body to the government of India, and they are basically the domain people will be there, and they are going to advise it. Clear? So this way is going to work. So this suggestion is there. You remember this. Yes, review committee recommended a fiscal council. Okay. Next you write. Next point. The government should focus on the next recommendation. Government should focus on public debt Now it's clear the public debt word. That is the first I discussed, because since we are several times we are going to use this word, so government should focus on public debt as a proportion to GDP, by 2022-23. But we are not able to achieve this target, frankly. I am telling you. Reason is what? The situations prevail in the country. It's forced to some different, the deviation from the target. We are not able to achieve this till now. But yeah, target it was, okay, on public debt as a proportion to GDP by 2022-23. By 2022-23. Right? Right. Continue. 60% for general government, 40% for, out of this, 40% for central government, and 20% limit is decided for state government. State governments you can do, and these all are based on GDP. Yes, you are getting that. So committee already recommended that we have to focus public debt. Public debt is the overall debt. Public debt is the overall debt. The total debt what the country is targeting, 60% of GDP, it is for the general government, and 40% of the GDP for central government, and 20% of GDP for the state governments. Combined, all state governments combined together, their debt amount maximum, it will be 20% of the GDP, and all central governments it's 40%. Clear? So it is more than 60%. You remember, it's more than 60% only for the central government nowadays. It's touching around. It's going towards the 70%. So condition is not good right now. Okay, but yeah, it's improving. General government, you can say, okay, sir, what you have written, general government 60, 40, 20, it's going to be around how much? 120%. No, dear. When you say general government, means it's a combined. So when you're going to use the word general government, so general government means central government plus state governments. Central government plus state government. So when you say general government, so that represents sum of these two combined is known as the general government. So general government means both central government and state governments. Clear hai? Clear to all? And last you can write establish a debt ceiling. Establish a debt ceiling. Okay. Establish a debt ceiling. Means you establish a debt ceiling. Ceiling means upper layer. So it is the overall GDP public debt, but if you take in the same way, it will take the same way, but you have to deal it differently. Means every year, how much you are going to borrow, you should also limit it, maximum limit. Your capping you have to decide. Overall, capping you decide you can't borrow more than this. Okay, this is now full stop. These are the major recommendations made by your review committee. Okay, go through this here. See, committee was constituted in 2016. Committee recommended in 2017. Government accepted in 2018. Okay, one question is there. Does deficit financing include both money financing and debt financing? What is money financing, dear? Simply deficit financing means you are borrowing money from the RBI and funding your expenditure in that particular year. Yeah, if you take in this way, debt financing means what is your loan amount you are paying this, it may possible, it may possible, it may possible. Possibilities are there because in total expenditure, you have already included the capital expenditure. Capital expenditure includes if you are paying the interest payment. But that is the reason I just already informed you. The short-term borrowing is allowed. Short-term borrowing from the RBI is already allowed. This part already mentioned in the class yesterday also. So this part, the first part, is the part of that. Because the committee, FRBM review committee is recommended 2018, the government accepted this. Okay, and target is there, that's they can deviate, that's already I discussed. Under this escape clause, RBI participate directly in the primary auction of government bonds, thus formalizing deficit financing. Yes, but deficit financing is only allowed for the short term, not for the long term, dear. Not for the long term. And the whole pandemic, you can see that, government only managed from the market borrowings plus short-term borrowings. Because FRBA review committee not recommended and not amended the clause that is prohibited the government to borrow from the RBI for the long term. That is not there. Okay. So this part is there. Second, you are saying, sir, in fiscal deficit clause, you mentioned it fiscal deficit increases, private investment decreases, but if fiscal deficit increases, it may refer to asset creation by government, isn't it? See, how you are taking that is again, there is a one thing. Fiscal deficit is there because fiscal deficit having two components. You try to get it. One component is your what? Due to the revenue expenditure, and one component is what? Due to the capital expenditure. So when you are saying fiscal deficit is overall expenditure, you are taking that. So it may be both. It may be both. Okay, but deficit increases private, fiscal deficit increases, private investment decreases. No, when I am telling this, if government is in deficit and they are borrowing from the market, so definitely if government borrowed from the market, so fund available for private sector is going to decrease. Okay, so problem which point you are taking and you are relaxing, that is the things. Who is asking, dear, what is the difference between the government of India borrowing from RBI and the borrowing from market? In the financing of the deficit, I discussed two different things. Go back to the class, at least you see that, dear. At least you see that. The whole class, in that class, I fully discussed crowding out effect. That was the market borrowings. RBI, the borrowing from RBI, that is said, the borrowing from central bank or primary borrowings. There's two differently I discussed. And you are asking what is the difference between this one. It means either you are not following class or you are not participating in class. You follow the class, participate in the class, then only you are able to link this. Randomly, if you meanwhile you are just raising these questions, what is the difference between these two? Tell me, should I go to the next topic or again I am going back to the previous topic? Previous topic, this all clearly I have discussed. It is there. It is there, the part of your class. Yes, I discuss it. Borrowing from RBI, primary borrowings, market borrowings. I discussed it in the class. Then impact I have discussed. Market borrowing, what is the impact? The whole class it was there. Let you do that. Then the borrowing from RBI, that whole chant system, this is the market borrowing, crowding out effect that I discussed each and every step. Then I went to the borrowings from RBI, then I discussed the flow chart. Where you was, dear? Don't do that. I respect your questions and I will entertain you, but if you are following my class, if you are jumping class and you are not concentrating in the class, then how can I entertain you this type of questions? Follow the class, come in class, get it. If even you are coming in the class and you are not getting these things, definitely I will tell you, I will entertain you. But the question you asked simply showing that you was not in the class or you are not following the class. Because whole things I discussed, everything I have discussed. So you can miss one of the linkages. I can understand. The whole system you are not getting it. Since you was not in the class. Don't do this. Clear? Now. So is it clear? Now, next step we are going for the advancement of budget. Don't ask question, dear, only for asking the questions. If you are not getting your questions, definitely I can get, yes, you are not getting. You are trying to understand, but you are not getting this. That I can get it. But simply you are asking this, then again there is a, that we can just say, your whole system you are asking. Read once, it's very clearly it is there. Using the flow chart, I explain each and everything. You read that. Okay. Now, budgetary reforms. Budgetary reforms. Clear? In budgetary reforms, we are going to discuss, there are some steps taken by the government. And government changed so many things. I mean, not so many things, basically three major things. Which year? In 2017-18. 2017-18. 2017-18, government reformed it. Okay. Major steps they have taken in 2017-18. Three major steps government has taken. First, they have taken it. They merged, and first of all, preponement of budget presentations. Budget presentation. Budget presentations. See, preponed budget presentations. Earlier, before this 2017-18, okay. So budget was presented generally the last working day of Feb. Last working day of Feb, the budget were presented by the government. But what was the problem in that? Because you are knowing that earlier situation you take, when you are going to present the budget on that last working day of Feb, but your fiscal year starts from 1st April. Your fiscal year starts from 1st April. So only 1 month left, March. But you know, if you are presenting in the last day of Feb, so I mean 1 to 2 weeks, basically it take your budget sessions. So in budget sessions, it's discussions and everything is going on. After discussion, then if Parliament is approved your budget, if Parliament is approving your budget, then after due process is going to the President will sign it. Then after due process, then only the Government of India is authorized to take fund from the money from the Consolidated Fund of India. So you got permissions, then you are sending this money to different ministries, and to different ministries it is going to different departments, and departments now sending to the implementing agencies for implementation of plan. So maybe it is taking 1 more months and 1.5 more months. So fiscal year starts from 1st of Feb, but agencies getting fund maybe in the month of May middle, May last, like this. So already you 2 months on an average, I am taking 2 months on an average or 1.5 months. You are not able to run your program and policies. Why? Because fund you are getting in delay. So 2 months you are getting delay in the starting, and since generally we are saying 31st March is the we are saying 31st March is the last working day, but all accounts we are closing in the month of Feb. All accounts we close in the month of Feb. Clear? So in the month of Feb, when you are closing all your account, okay, so 1 month is already, before that you have to just clear everything. So 1 month is there, 1.5 months, say 2.5 months, or just around you can take 3 months. You are just, there is shortage of the plant implementations due to different reasons, these reasons. And you you are making the plan for 1 year, but you are implementing for only in 9 months, 9 or months, or maybe 9.5 months. You can just think about productivity and efficiency and the outcome of that projects and policies. So the plan is for the minimum they need 12 months, accordingly you made it, but you're trying to complete in 9 months or maybe 9.5 months. So always the question mark on the productivity and efficiency. So this is the argument given by the government, and we have to follow this argument. Okay. So the government preponed the presentation of budget and they made it 1st Feb. Why? Because if 1st Feb you are presenting, then all the due process you can complete till the Feb months, and the March you are waiting, you are doing all the work, and the moment 1st April start, you are able to distribute all the fund, and timely you can start implementing all policies and programs. And timely if you start, then only the productivity of the plan policies you can achieve. So this was the ultimate objective of preponement of budget from last working day to 1st Feb 2000. 1st Feb each in every month. Sorry, every year. So on the 1st Feb, in 1st Feb, we present the budget in India from the last working day of Feb, and it is started from 2017. So all reforms is implemented in 2017-18. Clear here? So first you write few lines about this. Okay, one more question is there. So general government 60%, it is different from central government 60% and state government 20%. No. I just informed you that general government means combined central government plus state government. If you send central government and state government combinedly known as the general government. So both. So when you say 60% for overall government, central government plus state government. Out of this, 40% target for the only central government and 20% target for all states combined together. 20%. Okay? Clear, Biswajit? See, you remember the questions you asked. I'm not saying the other way. I can tell you. I can repeat it again. But question, if you're saying, sir, I'm not getting what you explain, the market borrowing and the borrowing from RBI, you explain it. So that is showing that you read these things, you tried to understand it, and suppose you're getting the problem. That is a different issue. But simply saying what is the difference between Government of India borrowings and the borrowing from market, then the way of question is showing that you are knowing nothing about this too, and you're just asking. That is the reason I'm telling, don't ask for the asking. If it not happen in the class, we not discussed, that is a different issue, then I will discuss. Since I discussed and explained everything, all the adverse impact, which one is good, which one is that, and on the basis of that, we had started your FRBM discussion. Why we need the law like FRBM. So you're not knowing after that whole the structure, How can you adjust? How can you just get it? All are dear very linked manner we are trying to develop with you. All are linked. You can go back my first class till today class. Everything we are developing in the very linked manner. So you are able to develop the whole system. Okay. Fine. You please ask, send it questions. Okay. I don't have any problem. All the questions what you're sending, I'm giving you. If suppose some topics that I'm going to do in the future, I mean the coming class, so I'm telling you also, okay, wait, I'm going to discuss that topic in that class, and you are getting it. So I promise you, I will try to answer all your questions. Okay, yeah, humanly maybe possible get some things. If I'm missing at that moment, I will take your time and I will discuss next class. No issue. Okay, because there may be some, I mean maybe question like this. But avoid, dear, please, a humble request, read, take classes, read it. You don't know the efforts made by our state government and the bureaucrats in this field. Okay. So they are taking very, I mean it's a very, you can say it's a very targeted policy, it's a very paid policy of the government, because today what is happening, if you really want to control and link with the central government, so your state person must be in the central services, must be in the central services. And if your state persons are in the central services, so even in your states, you can ask them to come and serve, so they can well understand your society, they can well understand your culture, they can understand your constraints, and they will work with you. That is the main motive behind this. Fulfill this. Huge resources, you don't know, huge resources government is spending for this project. And so many persons, even you can say all the district, the IS officers and the central government IS officers, they are really very keen, they are the part of that, they are responsible for that. The coordination, they are coordinating, they are doing, okay, they are doing their administrative work, but also it's additional responsibility they are doing that things. You try to understand their efforts. So please follow class and do that. And try to fulfill the objective for this project. Okay. Now, write it, advancement of budget to Feb 1. Right. Central government prepone the presentation of budget, prepone the presentation of budget from last working day of Feb, last day of Feb, leave the working day, last day of Feb to first Feb and the finance minister presented the budget for the budgetary year 2017-18 on 1st Feb. So two information we get this. Finance Minister presented on 1st Feb, and this is the first year 17-18 they started presenting it. So before practice was last day of Feb, but from this year it started 1st Feb. That is a preponement of budget. Just change the para, you write few lines. I will give you a question answer. Just wait. Right. The main goal of this advancing the budget. The main goal of this advancing the budget is to achieve the quality of expenditure, and the way the central schemes and projects and the way the central schemes and projects are executed will certainly change when the money allocated to each of them is approved by the parliament well in time, well in time, and transferred to the concerned departments and ministries. This is the main objective. Yeah, it's true. When in 2017-18, when Government of India taken these decisions, central government taken these decisions, so many states governments criticized it because that year some part of the states there was elections. Okay, election time it was there. So they saying, this steps is going to influence the public and etc. etc. But remember only one thing, when you are going to prepare this, always you think about the government point of view and what the argument and logical arguments given by the government, what is the rational, not only government is giving you, but what is the rational outcome and what is the rational reasons. That you have to depend on that and you have to write that. Comment by any party line, we don't concern about that. We are not going to consider it. Rational decisions, which is yes or right, which is wrong or right, that you have to take it, irrespective of any party ideology, as far as administration and for this exam is concerned. Because being the bureaucrats, to some extent, you have to be neutral. Okay. Practical, there is a different things, but you have to be neutral. Okay. Fine. Next one is what? They merge. Merge means they are not now taking the plan expenditure and non-plan expenditure. Now government not using this two. The government merged it. So now they are not differentiating between these two. Reason is what? Plan expenditure means the amount you are spending as per the plan. Non-plan means the amount of money you are spending, okay, without the plan. But what was the problem? When you are going for plan expenditure, it was really very biased. I mean, when you are going to allocate the fund, you are basically biased more towards plan expenditure and less towards non-plan expenditure. So most of the major amount you are allocating in plan expenditure and very less amount you are going to allocate the non-plan expenditure. But non-plan expenditure, in the non-plan expenditure, so many expenditure, really very necessary one. For the essential, providing the essential goods and services, for your some establishment which is very necessary for the economy, the expenditure on that, maintenance of assets, that is come under the non-plan expenditure. So if you're not allocating, how can you manage it? So there was, whether maybe your central government or maybe state government, they're going to more biased towards the plan expenditure. So that is the reason from 2017-18, this concept is removed. So now from 17-18, government is only classifying expenditure on the basis of capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. And what these two that already I discussed in the budget, capital expenditure, revenue expenditure. So see the budget, you are getting only two types of expenditure. One is the revenue expenditure, one is the capital expenditure. Just check. Clear? So give the heading. Give the heading. Right. Give the heading. Plan and non-plan expenditure. Plan and non-plan expenditure classification. Plan and non-plan expenditure classifications. Okay. Merged. Just write merged. Okay. Write it under this heading. Cabinet decided not to classify the expenditure of the government on the basis of plan expenditure and non-plan expenditure from the budgetary year 2017-18 from the budgetary year 2017-18. Okay, budgetary year 2017-18. Right. This will help in resolving the following issue. Okay. First you write the plan and non-plan bifurcation of expenditure. Plan and non-plan bifurcation of expenditure has led to a fragmented view of resource allocation to various schemes. Fragmented view of resource allocation to various schemes. Clear? Second point, right? The bias in favor of plan expenditure. By the center as well as the state governments has led to a neglect of essential expenditures on maintenance of assets and other establishment related expenditures for providing essential social services. Clear to all? Essential social services. Okay. Now, second, you can come to third was taken, and that is again from same year 2017-18, same year, just like earlier. Okay, 17-18, same year 17-18. But third was, okay, the government decided to merge railway budget with union budget. You can say, or general budget, you can say. So earlier the practice was before 2017-18, Railway Ministry was presenting first the railway budget and then union budget presented by the Ministry of Finance, because railway budget was separated. I mean, it was separated from the union budget. Different presentation was there in the practice. See, if you go back to the basic history, but go back to the development of railways in Indian economy. So basically, its railways development started pre-independence under the British era. Okay, and even under the British government, it was started under the private investors. Okay, the railways started under the private investors. Later on, the British government took over this whole railway projects and they started developing under the railway government. But the British government promised to investors, okay, whatever you are invested in railways, or if you are investing in railways development project, so you will be paid a very good amount of return interest, and it was around 5%, and that was in terms of foreign currency. 5%, the dollar you are paying, and in dollar terms you paid the 5%. That was the huge amount that time, huge amount. You understand that before your independence. So that was the things, that practice it was there. So British government was paying to the private investors, okay, a good return. Okay, so you think about when British government under British government took this project under, this railway project, then they wanted to develop this project very faster, or railway this project. So earlier what's happened? Okay, there was only one budget was presented initially. Only one budget was presented by the British government. But in 1921, the Ackworth Committee was constituted. Ackworth Committee was constituted in 1921. Committee was asked here, what are the steps we can take for the faster development of railways and other things. But this committee recommended that we want to focus to railways development very faster and very, better way. Then we should separate out the budget presentation. The budget we should separate out. So if you are separating the different budget, so you are able to focus to the railways. So railway budget will only focus to the railways. Then we are giving this focus. That was the basically argument given earlier. So on the basis of, so in 1921, Ackworth Committee recommended, but in 1924, it's constituted. In 1924, the British government accepted, means it's separated. So basically, railway budget separated from the union budget that time. So from 1924, the practice it was in India, railway budget will be different from the union budget. And this practice keeps continuing in India even after independence. Okay, so Government of India constituted a committee under Bibek Dev Roy. I think most of you knowing him. Okay, Bibek Dev Roy. And that time, Bibek Dev Roy, he was also the member of Niti Aayog initially when it was constituted. He's very famous, Bibek Dev Roy. There is a development book is there. If you want, you can read it if you have time. Very, very good. Non-economist. So Bibek Dev Roy committee again recommended that the railway budget should be merged with the union budget. So on the basis of Bibek Dev Roy committee recommendations, government merged it. Why? Because, what is the benefits it is going to give to the railways after merger? So very starting point it was there, I mean, the government was paying to the investors, but after independence, the railways was considered as the commercial undertaking of Government of India. Commercial undertaking means you are doing business. It is a commercial undertaking of the Ministry of Railway, commercial undertaking these railways. So when railways considers the commercial undertaking, or Ministry of Railways considers the, this railway is the commercial undertaking. So Ministry of Railways was assigned to pay heavy amount every year to Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance said that this amount you have to pay, so Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Railways had to pay that much amount. But earlier it was considered as the dividend. Okay, dividend. It was considered as the dividend. So it is dividend you was paying, the Ministry of Railways paying a dividend to the Ministry of Finance. Okay. But later on it becomes a liability. Yeah. So dividend liability we are saying. Why? Because dividend concept is what? If a particular company is earning profit, so if out of the profit is giving you a share of that, that is known as a dividend. But most of the times you are knowing that railways is in loss, but if loss making company or loss making unit is giving you dividend, it means it's a dividend liability. It's a liability for the railways to pay this much amount to Ministry of Railways. So a huge amount, it was the dividend liability for railways that railway was paying to the government, the Ministry of Railways. And Ministry of Finance. Okay, and second, on the other hand, railway itself needs more fund for the faster development, like bullet train you're talking about, security features you're talking about, the expansion of the railways, your industrial corridors you are developing, so a parallel railways, a rail track you have to develop for the movement of the faster movement of goods, etc. So you need to restructure the railways, okay, and just make it more compatible as the world economy or the advanced technology it is there. You have to bring it in the economic system. Because today, if you are not going for the faster movement of faster communications, maybe the individuals movement or goods movement, we can't grow, and we can't grow that level of economic growth and development, we can't achieve it. So we need to develop railways. Okay. So this time the Vivek Devra committee recommended that no, giving this condition we should merge it. After merger, what the benefits is the railway is going to get. So railways is now exempted from dividend liability. So every year what the railway was giving some dividend to the Ministry of Finance, now you are exempted. So railway don't need to give any dividends to the any amount to the railways. And just opposite, the railways is going to get the budgetary assistance from the Ministry of Finance. So Ministry of Finance is allotting the budgetary assistance so that the railways can get it and use for the development purpose. Okay. So it is there. Yes. What the central government is going to do in union budget? A separate statement they will make while presentation of the union government. Only separate statement for the budget, but no separate presentation of budget. No. Within the union budget, they are going to give you a separate statement. Clear here? So this is the way you have to develop and connect it. Right. Right. Give the heading merger of rail budget with union budget. Right. Merger of rail budget with union budget. Right. Under this heading, you write the government had decided, right? Government had decided to merge rail budget with government had decided to merge rail budget with the union budget from budgetary year 2017-18. From the budgetary year 2017-18. Okay, full stop, right? The merger of railway budget, with general budget, the general budget is based on the recommendations of the committee, headed by Sri Bibek Dev Roy. Recommendations of the committee headed by Sri Bibek Dev Roy. Okay. Right. Salient features of merger. Salient features of merger. The salient features of merger. Okay, dear. Please write first point. What are the major features? Right. Ministry of Railways. The Ministry of Railways will continue to function. Will continue to function as a departmentally run commercial undertaking. Ministry of Railways will continue to function as a departmentally run commercial undertaking. Ministry of Railways will continue to function as a departmentally run commercial undertaking. Clear? Now next point. A separate statement of budget estimates. A separate statement of budget estimates. A separate statement of budget estimates. A separate statement of railway budget estimates. Is created for railways. Oh, I think railway hata do. Just write a separate statement of budget estimates. Don't write railway here. A separate statement of budget estimates is created for railways. Like this, it's good. It's created for railways. Full stop. Right. Next point. Railways exempted from payment of dividend to the government. In bracket, if you want, then you can write Ministry of Finance, but government means Ministry of Finance here. Payment of dividend to the government. Okay, full stop. Right. There, in the same point, there is no dividend liability for railways. There is no dividend liability for railways. From 2017-18. From 2017-18. There is no dividend liability for railways from 2017-18. Clear? Full stop. Right. Ministry of Finance. Next point. Ministry of Finance provides. Ministry of Finance provides gross budgetary support to Ministry of Railways. Towards meeting part of its capital expenditures. Remember this point here, what you are writing it. Whatever amount Ministry of Finance gives to railways, okay, as a budgetary assistance, that amount railway can only use for capital expenditure. Now use this all terminology that we developed in the class. Mostly when you're talking about the capital creations or capital expenditure, you understand it is talking about creation of assets and creation of capital. Yes, it's true, we have discussed even you are paying some amount of your liability debt, okay, loan amount you are repayment, so that expenditure is also part of capital expenditure. It's also true, that is there. But out of this, mainly we are focusing creation of capital and creation of assets when it is referred as capital expenditure. When you are saying railways, government of India or any state government, they should focus on capital expenditure. So we are trying to say, or we mean that we should focus on the creation of capital, creation of assets. That we understand. Clear in this way. Okay, dear. Right. Next, railways may continue to raise. Railways may continue to raise resources. The railways may continue to raise resources from market through railways may continue to raise resources from the market to fund its capital expenditure. Yeah, to its capital expenditure means railways is still authorized if railway wants, so they can raise the resources from the market and they can borrow, or they can issue their own bond. They can raise the resources and use for the capital expenditure. Clear, dear? So these all are for the budgetary reforms that we have done it. Okay. So till here you just check any problems, any questions. I think question you asked. Fine, sir. What is debt ceiling? Debt ceiling means the overall debt you are putting a ceiling. There is a target you say, there is a public debt, total amount you are saying. Here debt ceiling means it's generally refer that in one particular year, there is target key of 60% of GDP should be public debt. But here, how much money you can borrow in a particular year, there must be ceiling on that. Okay, that's what we are talking about. So if public debt today is near about 70%, then how budget shows FD 6.4%? So is not this public debt amount can be borrowed from domestic economy or external economy? I think, dear, you understand one thing. You are not sending your name. Okay. So, what is the questions you listen, all of you? He or she is asking that, sir, if public debt today is near about 70%, then how budget shows FD 6.4%? First of all, fiscal deficit is the deficit incurred by the government in that particular year. In that particular year, expenditure you incurred, receipts you got without borrowings, the difference amount, overall receipts, no overall expenditure, the difference amount is the fiscal deficit. And to fund this deficit, you borrowed that. So 6.4%, it means that this year, the parliament, since it's a budget presentation, budget estimates, and budget already passed in the parliament, it means you informed the parliament in this fiscal year, I'm going to incur the 6.4% of fiscal deficit. Parliament already approved you. Yes, you can go ahead. It is only for this particular fiscal year that you are going to borrow 6.4% of the GDP. But public debt means not only this year, from last several years, how much total amount of debt you accumulated. The whole amount, if you compare with the GDP, it is around 70%. That is the difference. Clear? Second part of your question, sir, is not this public debt amount can be borrowed from the. Just I discussed before starting this class. Okay, public debt, which includes the internal debt and external debt. Internal debt means if you amount you borrowed within the country, it is known as the internal debt, part of internal debt. If you borrowed from any other international institutions or any other countries outside of India, that is known as the external debt. So public debt is the sum of internal debt plus external debt. Clear? Okay, I think you got your answer, dear. Second, you are saying, sir, in a second questions, Subhasri asked, So in an ideal situation, suppose in a year the budget allocated funds are well utilized and still there is surplus. If the surplus will be utilized for the next year allocation, it will be a fresh start. So most of the times, the unutilized, see, question is not whether fund is utilized efficiently or not. The question is the amount is allotted to you for that particular year. Okay. Due to so many reasons, like you can see every MP allotting some money to use this money for development of the project. Every MLA is allotted some money to use this money for development of your area. That is year wise. If the year end, now this money you can't use it. Next year you have to wait. If allocations comes, amount is sanctioned, then only you can use in the next fiscal year. That is one of the reasons that sometimes you can observe suddenly in the last of the year, the construction work, every works the people are starting. Suddenly they started doing that because they have to close, they have to take the fund, manage it. So many things is doing that in the last of the year. You understand? The government way of budgeting is that until and unless the amount allotted to a particular purpose is non-lapsable, the term must be there. If amount of fund you created, if it is a non-lapsable, as per which is approved by the parliament, like recently in the under this 15 finance commissions, the central government asked the 15 finance commissions just recommend for creation of fund for the modernization of internal security and defense. Okay, internal security and defense sector. For modernizing this, we want fund. So they requested that fund should be non-lapsable. Non-lapsable means, so parliament suppose approved, because finance commission recommending that parliament has to approved it, accept it. Once it's approved by the parliament, parliament accepted the recommendation. So that fund is non-lapsable. It means if fund is allotted in that fund, and suppose you are not using in that particular fiscal year, so that fund is going to be carried forwarded in the next year. And how much allotted in the next year? So that amount and the previous amount, yes, you can use, but conditions and approval must be non-lapsable. But most of the expenditures generally allotted in a particular fiscal year are the lapsable in nature. Means you are using in this year, then fine, whether it's a productive, efficiently, it's a different issue. Used, it's okay, fine. But the same amount you can't use in the next year. Okay. If fresh approval is coming, then only you can use, otherwise you can't use. You can't cross the date. That is the conditions. Clear, Subhasri? Fine. Yeah, you are writing. It will be a fresh start. Yes, refresh start. Now, second question is asked. So today it was news that according to the World Bank, the growth of India would be 6.6% in fiscal year 24. How does World Bank conclude this type of anticipation? See dear, like 2023-24, basically financial year 23-24 you're talking about, as per the India, because we generally take so we are expecting on the basis of our data, what the data we have, what the condition we have. But World Bank also some data they are getting it, which are the published documents, like the India, our NSO, they are publishing some data. They are publishing data on the capital formation. They are publishing data on the consumption, the government expenditure. They are publishing on the export, imports. So data basically it is also available for everyone because open data. You want to access, you can go. You go to the NSO website, you can get, it is there. All data, most of the data is now online available. Okay, recently it's come out in 2021, the agriculture households data that is by the NSSO means NSO. So all the information there, the assessment of the farmer, that is a farmer's households, it is there. So you can use the data, you can expect it. Okay, so there are some factors. Maybe the conditions what you are expecting, what the World Bank is expecting related to India, and what we expecting about my own India, that may differ. Okay, and that due to that expectations, I mean different expectations. Yeah, the expectation of growth rate may differ. Okay, so in this way they are doing that. Okay. Okay, Subhasri, thank you. Fine, dear. So I think till this point is over. Now, next we are going to discuss some points related to this, but it's very small concept. So complete that. Then we are going to discuss about your finance commissions. Yes. Now, next we are going to discuss zero-based budgeting, or zero-based budget, you can say zero-based budget, or you can say zero-based budgeting. Noise, okay? So it is known as a ZBB. So yeah, ZBB is there, zero-based budgeting, this concept. If you just see from last few years, mains also, earlier it was very short, they are asking around 2 marks, 3 marks, very earlier. So several times they asked, and they can formulate any questions on zero-based budgeting. Why? Because today the government is doing the same thing, same practice is going on. What is zero-based budgeting says that? Just I'm giving you example and you please try to understand this. Suppose you made plan in 2022-23, clear? You made budget. In this budget, so many programs, you implemented so many programs, clear? Programs, schemes, okay, you implemented different types of policies you implement in this budget. But when you are going to form the budget for 2023-24, so you are not going to continue this program merely because you already implemented in the last year and you spent already some amount on that. That cannot be the conditions. Earlier, what was the condition? Like any program for, say, the cost is 10,000 crores. 10,000 crores program you made for 5 years. So suppose 1 year you implemented, first year you spend 2,000 crores. 2,000 crores. Second year you are not analyzing. Since you thought, okay, it is for 5-year plan, let us continue. Second year you implemented and you spend 2,000 crores. You don't want to stop this plan. Why? Because you are thinking we already spent 4,000 crore. So let us continue for the 5 years. See that. That is not the way now. So our concept today is the zero-based budgeting. And what is that? Okay, first year I will implement, no doubt, because I am implementing that because I assess okay, this plan and policies is good for our economy. So you implement it. Then before considering in the next year, 22, 23, 23, 24 this year, you have to consider all the program and policies prevailing in the country just from the phase 1, from the 01. You have to go and analyze all the program and policies from very basic 01, 0 level. You have to analyze. After analysis, if you are getting these program, policies or schemes are performing, then only you can consider for next year. Only you can consider for next year. Don't consider on the basis of that since you implemented and few amount or a major amount you spent, even you spend 4,000 crores, but if that program is not performing and you want to continue for the next 3 years, so you are going to spend 6,000 crores more, and it is all going to be wasted. So don't think 4,000 crores, just think about saving the 6,000 crores. Use this amount for better project, efficient project and productive project. So concept is that every year you have to consider all the program and projects, including the program project that already in running. There is continuing it. Don't continue merely because they are in continuations, not finished. Analyze each and everything. If you are getting that yes, these programs are performing and productive, then only you can use for the next year. Otherwise, don't use it. Just reject it. Just reject it. And one more thing, when you are going to allocate the funds, allocate it on the basis of priority and performance. If programs are performing better, you allot more funds. And cut down the fund from the program and policies that are not performing. Allot to the productive one, more performing one. It is also known as the performance budgeting. Yeah, performance budgeting or outcome budgeting, because now your decision is on the basis of outcome. Your decision is based on performance. So it is a good way. You can ask, so then what is the implication? It is the implication is you can see the program and policy. Now it's visible at the ground level. Earlier, sometimes in my local areas, you can see that last 10 years, no one is knowing when road is constructed or not. Never seen the people last. I'm not talking about nowadays. I'm talking about say 20, 30 years back. Okay. When I was in the graduation and like this. So maybe I'm not seen last 2-3 years there's construction of that gully or in that. But in the municipal, every year the road is constructed. Every year road is constructed, money sanctions and everything is happened. Several occasions it was the case. It was not the case in everywhere it was the case. But now government has changed fully they change it. That is the reason transparency is very necessary one. What is happening right now? Okay, now pressure is from the top to bottom. Perform, continue the project, not performing, lose the project. So department, they are knowing that if I am running this project, if I am performing, so I am going to run for the next 5 years. But if I am not performing, I am going to lose in the next year. And no one wants to lose this project. So they want to continue for the next 5 years. So for that, the department has to perform. Department has to show the performance. Yes, it's working. And how the government is controlling this now? So one more concept is developed, the social auditing. Yeah, social auditing. Because if you ask the department, what's about the project? So always you can get the feedback. Very good, very good, very good. It's working. But the administration should take the information from the other sources. Like suppose I can just hand over this responsibility to some NGOs, neutral NGOs. They're working very good. And I can ask him, please assess this project and give me the report. NGO is not going to follow the dictate of the local administrations or others. NGO is going to follow what exactly the requirement. Okay. So what exactly the requirement? Accordingly, NGO is going to work. Clear? So this NGO is going to make a report, and the report is going to submit it to the higher authority. So you can get the actual picture in the ground, and you can take the actions. So there are ways, and once it's not, then you stop it. Once it's happened, the next time they will go in the project, they will not repeat it. So basically, zero budget budgeting main aim to make the implementation of program and policies more effective, and you can get the outcome. Okay, you can link with the performance budget, you can link with the outcome budget. This outcome budget means now your decision is made based on the outcome, what you are getting. If you're not getting, don't take the decision. Performance, the same thing. If it is a performing this budget, I mean these schemes and program and policies, you continue for. Otherwise, don't. Okay, dear? Please write a few lines. Right. Zero base budgeting or budget starts from a zero base. Full stop. Right. Everything including expenditure and receipts, everything including expenditure and receipts are beginning from a zero level, under ZBB, zero level under ZBB. Okay, full stop, right? Under ZBB, allocations or funding under ZBB, allocations or funding are based on program efficiency, comma, performance of program, and necessity. Full stop, right? Under ZBB, a close analysis is made of the existing government programs, comma, projects and other activities to ensure that funds are made available to high priority items by eliminating non-performing and outdated programs, and cut down the funds allocated to the low priority items, Clear? Full stop, right? All programs are analyzed every year, and existing programs are not continued merely because a part of the project cost a part of the project cost has already been incurred. A part of the project cost has already been incurred. Has already been incurred. Okay, full stop, right? The objective of the ZBB, the objective of the ZBB is to bring efficiency, the objective of the ZBB is to bring efficiency in the functioning of the government departments, so that productivity can be increased and wastage can be minimized. Clear? Okay. See, now a small one, fiscal drag. There is a one word after that, fiscal drag. Now, fiscal drag. I think maybe yesterday you asked inflations, more receipts of the government in the form of taxes. Yes. And based on that, there is a one question, it is known as the fiscal drag. This word we are using. That is the reason I asked you yesterday. Wait, I will discuss it. Okay. Let us consider government is facing higher fiscal deficit. So higher fiscal deficit, if suppose government is facing higher fiscal deficit is there, that is due to the fiscal policy. If government funded from RBI, suppose they borrowed from the RBI, they funded, ultimately is going to increase money supply and going to create the inflation. So think about if inflation is there or higher inflation is there, government is getting the additional revenue. Because due to inflations, the prices of most of the products keeps increasing. So tomorrow, the product price was 100. Suppose you are paying, say you are paying 18% GST. You are paying 18%. So 18% of 100 you are paying 18 rupees. But suppose due to increase in the price of product, now it's the same product is price is 200. Still rate is same, but GST collection is going to be 36 rupees, just double. So inflation means what? Increasing the price of goods and services. That is the meaning. Even the government is not changing the tax rate, even at the same tax rates, government is able to collect more money. Okay, so who is going to benefit it? Government. Second way, okay, so in this way we can take this one. And ultimately what is happening? Due to inflation, the real income in the country is going to decrease. Because your real income is going to fall, aggregate demand is going to fall, output is going to fall. So it is known as the fiscal drag. Fiscal drag means the act of the fiscal policy, now it's dragging the economy. And you are pulling back the economy. Okay, it's not going ahead, but it's going back. So this way you can just take the fiscal drag. Just write few words. Fiscal drag. The situation in which people pay a large part of their income in tax, as a tax, not in tax, as a tax, a large part of their income as tax, due to higher inflation. This effect increases government tax collection. This effect increases government tax collection. without increasing tax rates. Without increasing tax rates. Tax collection without increasing tax rates. Full stop, right? The increase in tax and higher inflation reduces aggregate demand for goods and services, through decrease in consumption, which drag the economy, which drag the economy. Full stop. It is known as fiscal drag. Check. Clear? Now, one small word more you write, then we will meet after break. Fiscal neutrality. Fiscal neutrality means what? Go back to the aggregate demand equations. So suppose if government increasing G, suppose delta amount of G government increased. Go back to the aggregate demand equation. If government increasing delta amount of G, so definitely aggregate demand will also go up. How much? Delta G amount. An increase in aggregate demand is going to increase income. How much amount? Delta G amount. So when increase in income is going to increase your consumption, again aggregate demand like this, a circle keeps going on, which is known as a multiplier effect. If at the same moment, if that much delta G amount, which is increased delta Y amount of income, that much amount of tax you please increase the taxes. So what's happened? This much amount of expenditure you increase. Initially, this much amount of income has increased, and the same amount you increase the taxes. So you're not allowing the multiplier effect in the economy. So you can say economy is neutral, and which is known as the fiscal neutrality, because this happened due to the government expenditure and taxes. So anything related to the government policy is the fiscal one. So it's known as a fiscal neutrality. So just you write one line. Please write. When the net effect of taxation and public spending is neutral, when the net effect of taxation and public spending is neutral, neither is stimulating nor decreasing. Again I am repeating. When the net effect of taxation and public spending is neutral, neither is stimulating nor decreasing. Okay. Like here you can see aggregate demand increases initially, income increases initially, but the moment income increase, at that moment you also increase taxes. So you are not allowed in the economy, increase in income is going to increase further consumptions, aggregate demand, again income. No, you are not going to allow the multiplier effect. You cut down this. So economy is now remain neutral. Clear here? Okay then, we will meet after break. Okay, thank you everyone.